Hey everyone, Razor here. So good morning to all you Hanyaks out there. And I don't know where that term came from, but I mean it in the most respectful way. I remember my mom used to say that to us kids when we were growing up. All right, you Hanyaks, let's get busy. So anyway, this is how I put my lathe to bed every night, or whatever, when I get done using it. So I just uncover this bad boy with all my rags and towels, and you can see I stuffed this down here around my spindle, and people ask how I keep it rust free. Well, maybe that's how that happens. But the point to this video is I posted a few pictures the other day on Facebook about this particular part, and here is the sheet that I posted a picture of as well. And this is my first time actually making a part to a drawing, and the biggest problem was I didn't know how to read this stupid thing. So I called up my machinist buddy that got me into machining, and he explained what all this information is on this sheet. And so now I can actually decipher and understand what it is that I'm looking at and reading. So without going into a great big classroom lesson here, down here in this section right here gives you all the tolerances based on all the numbers that are given in this area for the part itself. And so I guess all in all, this is wonderful for me, because it actually teaches me something new that I'm excited about, and I really want to be as good as I can be, whatever it is that I'm making. So that being said, here is my part. Let me, I'm uncovering it here, unwrapping it. And here is that part. Let me polish it up here a touch. We're on camera. But anyway, oop, my paper fell. Hang on. So, let me orient this thing here. So this is this. So I'm extremely proud of myself on this thing. There is one problem with it, however, and that is that it is 40 thousandths too long. So based on this dimension right here, there's supposed to be 3/4 of an inch in from this back edge. As you can see, that hole is not centered into this. So that means that I have to take the 40 thousandths off this end right here and not this end. So anyway, so I'm going to chuck this up, and I'll bring you back in a couple of minutes when I get it all set up in there, and we're going to trim this thing down. There's my through hole. That is bored and reamed. I mean, I should say drilled and reamed. And then this hole is counterbored. According to the drawing, this is the information right here that pertains to that hole right there. And and it is gnat's ass, you guys. I mean, gnat's ass. And I don't know how well the camera can pick up, the finish and the overall looks of this part, but when you have it up close, it's beautiful. I have to admit, it's beautiful. I'm extremely proud of myself on this bad boy. So even though it's a small little part, there's a couple of detailed things. The chamfer on the edge is called out. This hole, of course, is called out. The chamfer on the inside here, it's not called out. And there's no chamfer called out on the top right here. But the diameter and the length is all called out, and the finish I think is like 125. And my buddy Ron, he's my machinist buddy locally here, he told me that actually is a pretty rough finish. So I think I've gone above and beyond that in this particular job. So anyway, I'm gonna put you guys on pause, and I'll be back in a couple of seconds. Okay, so stay tuned. Okay, you guys, I'm back. I am miking this thing. As you can see, it's exactly 670 thousandths is what my mic says. And according to the print, let me grab the print here, it is supposed to be 1.620. So I'm at 1.670. So it's 40 thousandths off, right? 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. No, it's 50 thousandths off. 20 to 70, yeah, it's 50. So anyway, there's an up close shot of all the numbers. As you can see, the radiuses are called out. The through hole 0.375. I'm 0.75 from the end on the center of the other hole here, and the countersink dimensions are all in there and whatnot, and the depth and the whole 9 yards. 150 is the dimension for the radius. So anyway, and here's all the other information. There's a close-up shot of the legend right there. Gives you all the information on how to read everything. So all right, so that being said, I got my lathe kind of set up preliminary to set this thing up in here. So, and I don't really have any soft jaws, so I'm just going to capture this thing in here. I got to make sure that I'm going to be cutting it off from the correct side, which is this side right here. And I don't know if you guys are, let's see, I better adjust my camera here so I can get a better shot. There we go. We'll do that. And so now you guys can see my bar down here that is loose right now, that I can adjust up to my indicator. And once I get my tools set up here, which I might as well go ahead and do, so this is the side I have to cut off of because this is the long side. So we'll put him up in here like this. Set him up like that. Let me grab my other tools here. Again, here's my my indicator that I use all the time to set my parts in the forejaw. So put him on there. Run this guy up here. And we'll see how close I am just by setting this up by eye. Okay, so I set this to absolute, and that's at 0. And then I'm centered on the number 1 jaw, for what it's worth. This number 1 is what happens to be there. And then I spin this around and line up on the number 3 jaw. And I'm exactly, you guys can't see this, but I'm exactly like 2 thousandths and maybe like 3/10 off just from eyeballing that thing. So I'd say that's pretty good for eyeballing something. So that means I'm basically about 1.1, 1.5 tenths 1/1000, 5/10 off from being perfect. So we'll readjust I made my adjustment on the chuck. So now I reset my gauge to 0 again. I'll spin it back around here to the other side. And I'm about 2/10 off from my gauge. So we're just gonna give that a little snug. And for what it's worth, I don't care what the other two jaws read. Right now I'm doing 1 and 3. And so that's what I do. I check 1 and 3, just spin this, 180 degrees. And that's it. I mean, I'm absolutely dead nuts 0 on these two. And then all I do is I'll spin it down to number 2 jaw, right? So now I have number 2 and number 4 that I need to set. And it's approximately 12/1000 off. But that doesn't matter to me right now because all I need to do is bring it to 0. And my part should be absolutely gnat's ass. So I'm just putting just a little snug on there, so I'm dead nut 0. And I spin this around. And there we go. Again, you guys can't see this, but it's 0 on 2 and 4 now. And so all I need to do, I have a slight little adjustment to make on 1 and 3 because 2 and 4 moved it just a touch. Okay, so I bring this to 0. And that's it. I mean, my needle is probably moving maybe 2/10, maybe 3/10 at the absolute most. So on all of these points, okay, this is the only one that needs a slight little adjustment to absolutely make this thing perfect. Okay, so I'm absolutely dead nut 0 right there. And let's give this one a little bit of squeeze on him. Okay, I mean, that's good enough for friggin' anybody's government work. So, just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna take the phone out of my holder. I've had to build a new holder for my phone, and there it is. By the way, that's my new holder for my new phone. And but I have to show you guys this. So, if that will stay there, so now I'm gonna spin my chuck. And there's maybe 2/10 right there. But there's my part, you guys. And you saw how long it took me to set that up. Just literally a couple minutes. And for that little bit that's off, right? Oh, and I can't even find it there. Right there. Right there. I'm not going to even worry about that. That is like friggin' as good as it gets as far as I'm concerned. So, anyway, all right, so I'm put my phone back in its little cradle here. Oops. Okay, so I slide that in just like that. All right, so now back this off and put my. I have a holder, a protector thing that came with my first gauge, and this slides right over this thing, and so if God forbid this one falls, this will protect my needle from being bent. And that's what happened with my last one. I didn't have my cover on, and it actually fell from up here on my rack back here, and it fell down into the bottom right here, and it bent my the little leg or the pin. All right, so now what cutter am I going to use to cut this down? I think I'll use this guy right here. So we'll put him in there. As what I'll do is now I run this up here. Let me clean off the couple little chips on the end of here so it doesn't interfere with my measurement. and I just touch the tool to the part right there. Okay, and then I will run my rod, as you can see, up to here. And I don't know if you probably can't see my indicator, but I just run that up to, basically 0, and I'll tighten this down. Okay, so nothing moves. Okay, and I'll just play with that just for a second. Okay, so now I'm dead nut 0 right there, and I will check it. I'm absolutely 0. Check it again. I'm 0. Check it again. Okay, 3 times in a row. It's absolutely gnat's ass. All right, so I can go ahead and proceed to cut this like this, or I can leave everything alone right now and move my tool off of my part, which I'm doing right now, and then I can go ahead and I can take up my 50 thousandths, which is right there. Okay, that's my 50 thousandths. And then if I want to, I can take this guy right here and clamp him onto there. I have to move my rod out of the way because this won't clear the rod, but I slide the rod out of the way, and I can put a hard stop on here, and that will definitely ensure that I do not go past my 50 thousandths. But seeing as I've done this a few times, I'm very comfortable with using that, and it should come out right on the money as far as my overall length dimension. So let's give this a shot and see what happens. So it's today is Friday morning. The weather seems to be friggin' looking pretty good outside. Last couple of days have been a little cold, and no rain, but a little cold and overcast, and so it's not very conducive to get the old motivation button going. All right, so let me do my check real quick. Excuse me, guys, get in front of the camera. But this is my normal procedure. I built these little, I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, you can. I built these little brass plugs, if you will. This is one of my first projects that I did on my lathe when I first got the thing, just to playing around and seeing if I could make something that was like kind of cool. And that's it. So I don't know how well you guys can see that, but nothing fancy. I was just messing around. But anyway, I took off the damn caps, the little flip caps that are on there normally, because one was missing the cap, and the other one was kind of dinged up. So I said, "Ah, hell with it." So I pulled them out, and I put these plugs, what I call these plugs, in there. And so now is what I'm doing is adding my Lucas. This is what I use for my spindle oil. And I use it because it's a very heavy bodied oil. The viscosity on this stuff is it's pretty stout, to say the least. And I filled that one up too much, but I do that sometimes, so I put this in there anyway. Keep the chips out. And it's funny, even though my brass plugs are turned perfectly round, the holes in the casting are not perfectly round. So if I put that in there and turn it like quarter turn, it kind of locks it down in place, so you can't pull it out. It's kind of cool how that worked out. But and then here's the one in the rear. Put some goop in him as well. And depending on how long I use my lathe at any given time, I check these things to make sure there's oil in there. So, and then I don't know if you guys can see back here, but I'll put a shot of my oil back here in my my pulley setup. And then like I said, I always I don't know if you guys can see my pulley back there. Yeah, I guess you can. But I always do that. It's just a habit now that I just grab that thing and I spin it just to make sure that nothing's locked up, nothing's too tight, that nothing hits. I always do that just for shits and giggles to make sure that when I flip the switch on this thing that I'm not going to get a surprise. Okay, alright, so everything looks good. I'll turn this, or pull this back and set it at 0 again on my indicator. Then I'm absolutely right to the bitter edge of that face. So here we go. We're gonna make some chips. And I've discovered, like I said, with this is my first stainless job that I've done, and there's a lot that I've learned so far in how to cut this thing at the speeds and feeds what Randy was suggesting. Randy put a comment up, which I appreciate that, buddy. Put up a comment yesterday about the speeds and feeds on stainless, and so I'm by no means an expert on this stuff, obviously, but what I've learned I can apply now. So I know that this running this speed on a facing cut is totally fine. So let me put a little goop on here. Lock down my carriage so it doesn't move. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so here's 10 thousandths right here. Should be acceptable, which it is. So if I take 10 thousandths at a time, then obviously, you know, I got 5 turns that I have to make on this thing. Clear my chips. There we go. Put some more goop on there. There's the second pass. Clear my chips off to here. There we go. Put some more goop on there. Okay, we're at 30 right now on the dial. Okay. Alright, for some reason, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this thing was set right there at 650, 60, 70, 670. And I need to go to 620. So yeah, that's 50 thousandths. Wow. I don't know why that's not computing in my head. I'm thinking that that was my final cut right there. And but yet when I think about this, oh, I don't know why that's so confusing to me right now. I'm going to chamfer my through hole, my center hole right now, seeing as I got my tool in there. And just for shits and giggles, you guys, because I don't want to screw this up. I mean, this is the very last operation on this thing. I'm going to pull that damn thing out and measure it again. So, like I said, it's just I don't trust what's going on in my head right now, and I don't know why it's confusing. But I should be able to go to my 50 thousandths, and boom, it should be done. But like I said, I don't want to screw it up, so I'm going to go ahead and chamfer my hole in the center. Alright, so there's a radius dimension, a chamfer dimension here, obviously on the edge, which I have to do, but for what it's worth, it doesn't take me but a few seconds to set this thing up back in there. So better safe than sorry, right? Alright, so I'm going to remeasure this thing. Okay, now according to this, I am at 625, 630, 631, 632. Okay, if I'm reading that correctly, it's get you in focus here. There we go. 632. Oops. So 600, and the first line is 25. This 5 would be 30, and then I'm at 7, so that's 31 and 32. So 632. So that means I'm 12 thousandths off of my finished dimension. Okay. Oh, man. Hope you guys would enjoy this as much as I am. I swear. Like I said, I'd rather be, safe than sorry. Okay, so let me just take this out. You guys can bear with me here to reset this thing up. And I do this all the time, you guys. I swear to God, I absolutely love my 4-jaw. I wish I had a 6-jaw that was an adjust true, that I could just throw my parts in here and be on my way. But until then, my 4-jaw pretty much gets all of my work. Alright, so we're at 0 on number 2. We'll spin him around. And we are +1 on this side. So I'm pretty close. So we'll bring him to half of that distance. We'll bump our thing back to 0. Spin him back around. And we're pretty much money. Just a hair bit off on that side. Okay, so we'll expand this to 90. Now I'm 3 thousandths negative on this side, on these two jaws. So I will bump him to 0. Check it. Number 3 to number 1. And just a hair bit off here. Okay, so looking pretty good. And I know because I'm doing the facing cut, it doesn't have to be absolutely Nat's ass on this dimension, but because I'm chamfering my hole in the center, I want this to run as true as I can get it. So, and I'm futzing with it right now, you guys. I'm dealing with literally like, you know, tenths. Just trying to dial this in. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty damn close right there. Okay. Okay, this one, this one should do it right here. Oh, come on. Okay, all right, that's perfect right there. Okay. All right, so now